Leadership starts when comfort ends. Anybody can be a captain when the sea is calm. Anybody can talk about vision and goals and motivation when the checks are clearing, when the scoreboard is up, when people are clapping for you. But that ain't leadership. That's convenience. Real leadership shows up when there's chaos, when the team's morale is low, when nothing is working, when the weight is so heavy that your knees start shaking. That's when you find out who the leaders are. The world don't need more people who talk about it. The world needs people who stay standing when the wind starts blowing. That's the difference. That's the separation. When things go south, most people quit. Most people tap out. Most people say, it's too hard. I didn't sign up for this. It's not worth it. But a leader, a real leader, looks at adversity and says, I was made for this. They understand that leadership is not about how loud you speak, it's about how deep you stand. When the pressure comes, you don't back up, you dig in. When people look to you with fear in their eyes, you don't panic, you focus. Even when you feel like breaking, you show up. That's what it means to lead when it's tough. It means putting your emotions on lock so you can bring clarity to your team. It means putting others before yourself even when you're hurting. It means being consistent when everything around you is inconsistent. It means waking up early to figure it out, staying up late to pull people through, sacrificing your comfort to make sure the mission stays alive. It's easy to lead when it's sunny, but the storm is what makes you. The storm is what tests your voice, your vision, your values. And if those things ain't real, if they're just for show, the storm will expose you. But if they're rooted in something deeper than success, if they're rooted in purpose, in heart, in sacrifice, then the storm will elevate you. You don't need perfect conditions to lead. You need purpose. You need commitment. You need to remember why you started, because if your why is deep enough, the how will always show up. Most people wait for circumstances to improve before they act like leaders. But leaders flip that. Leaders act in a way that makes the circumstances better. They bring order to the chaos. They bring belief to the broken. When there's no path, they create one. When the team wants to give up, they remind them why it matters. That's the secret. That's the power. You don't become a leader because of a title. You become one because people trust you when it's dark, because you bring energy when the room is flat, because you stand tall even when you're bleeding inside. This ain't about being fearless. No, you feel it. You feel the weight. You feel the pressure, you feel the fear, but you don't let it control you. You channel it, you use it. You show others that the fear doesn't define the next step. You do. Even when you're uncertain, you walk forward. Even when you're scared, you speak life. Even when you're tired, you keep pushing. That's leadership. It's not a feeling. It's a choice, a decision, a daily grind. Every day you decide to carry the weight. Every day you decide to show up. Every day you decide to be the example, especially when it's inconvenient. That's when it counts. That's when it's real. That's when you lead. You can't tell people to grind if you're not grinding harder. That's the truth. You want to lead a team through adversity. You want them to stay focused when it gets hard. Then you better be the first one in the room and the last one out. You better be sweating more, working more, sacrificing more. You better be the example before you give the instruction. People don't follow what you say. They follow what you live. They follow consistency. They follow authenticity. They follow fire. When they see you doing what you say, that's when they believe. That's when they trust. You can't fake leadership. You can't manufacture it. It's earned. Through action, through discipline, through showing up even when your body is tired and your mind is screaming quit. When everything around you is falling apart and the team looks confused, afraid, or uninspired, they look to you, and if your face says panic, they'll panic. If your tone says doubt, they'll doubt. But if your presence says, we still got this, if your body language says, we're not backing down, then that's what they mirror, that's what they copy, that's what inspires movement. You want people to trust your leadership, then lead with your lifestyle. Show them what commitment looks like when there's no reward. Show them what focus looks like when it's all noise and chaos around you. Show them what it means to put the mission before the mood. Because that's the moment leadership becomes real. Not when it's easy, but when you're hurting too, when you feel the weight too, when you're unsure too, and you still choose to be the rock. People don't need a leader who just yells instructions. They need a leader who lives them. They need someone who holds the line, who doesn't move when it gets hard, who doesn't change when pressure comes. Because when they see that, when they feel that, they start believing they can do it too. That's where the culture shifts. That's when the energy changes, not when you hype them up with words, but when you shift the temperature by being the thermostat, set the standard, set the expectation. Let your presence command the environment. That's what real leaders do. You want people to push through fatigue, then push through yours. You want them to believe, then show them belief in action, even if your voice is shaking. Even if your hands are heavy, even if your heart is tired, you show them that discipline outlasts doubt. Being a leader when it's easy is automatic. Anybody can do that. But when you're in the fire and you still refuse to fold, when you choose to sweat and bleed for the standard you preach, that's when the people around you know you're for real. That's when they lock in. That's when they start moving different. You don't have to be the most talented. You don't have to be the loudest. But if you're the most consistent, the most faithful to the mission, the one who doesn't flinch, that's the person others will follow. That's the one who becomes the example. That's the one who leads even when it's tough. Because at the end of the day, leadership is not about looking good. It's about doing what's right when no one else wants to. It's about being the proof that it can be done, not just once, but every single day. You can't lead others if you haven't first conquered yourself. That's where it starts. Before you open your mouth, before you give direction, before you tell anybody what the plan is, you better have your own mind in check. Because when adversity hits, it doesn't just shake the outside world. It shakes you. It whispers in your ear. It tells you you're not enough. You don't have what it takes. This is bigger than you. That voice inside, it can be louder than any storm outside, and if you don't control it, it will control you. That's the truth. Most people think leadership is about charisma or communication, but real leadership starts with domination of your inner world, because you can't stand strong for others if you're crumbling inside. You can't lift others up if your mind is dragging you down. You've got to win the war in your head before you ever win in the world. That inner voice, it doesn't go away. It evolves, it adapts. The higher you go, the more it tries to sabotage. It'll use your past, your pain, your fears, your failures, whatever it can to convince you to step back. But the difference between people who lead and people who follow is what they do with that voice. Followers agree with it. Leaders challenge it. Followers let fear dictate the next move. Leaders talk back to it and say, not today. I've come too far. I've bled too much. I've sacrificed too long. They don't ignore the fear. They confront it. They don't wait for confidence to show up. They create it with action. It's a mindset, a muscle, something you build every single day by making choices that align with your values, not your emotions. Your emotions will lie to you. They'll tell you to give up, but your purpose, that never lies, that's the anchor, that's the compass, that's the voice that says you've still got work to do. When the pressure comes, and it will come, you've got to have something deeper than motivation. Motivation fades, hype fades, but identity, that sticks. You've got to know who you are. You've got to wake up every day and speak life into your mission, not just for the people watching you, but for you. For the part of you that's tired, for the part that feels invisible, for the part that wants to quit. Leaders know how to coach themselves before they coach others. They fuel their own fire before they light anybody else's. That's where resilience is born. That's where vision is sustained. That's where courage is developed. Not in front of a crowd, but in silence, in solitude, in struggle. You want to lead people through tough times. Start by leading yourself through your own doubt, your own fear, your own laziness, your own excuses, Every morning you wake up with a choice. Listen to the lie or live the truth. The lie says you're done. The truth says you're just getting started. The lie says it's too late. The truth says it's never too late. The lie says let someone else do it. The truth says you were built for this. You don't need more resources. You don't need more applause. You need control of your mind. Because when your mind is locked in, when your vision is clear, when your spirit is unshaken, you become unstoppable, not perfect, not fearless, but unshakable, and that's the kind of leader people follow. Not because you say all the right things, but because they feel your strength before they even hear your voice, because you've done the work within, because you've fought battles no one sees, and you're still standing. Tough times make people emotional. When the plan falls apart, when the numbers don't look right, when the criticism hits or the momentum dies, people get in their feelings. They start reacting. They start spiraling. But a real leader doesn't lead with emotion. A real leader leads with vision. You don't make decisions based on how you feel in the moment. You make decisions based on where you're going. You don't chase comfort. You chase clarity. You're not driven by what's happening right now. You're driven by what needs to happen next. That's how leaders separate themselves. They don't get caught up in the noise, in the fear, in the doubt. They stay locked in on the destination. They understand storms will come, setbacks will hit, but the mission doesn't change, the standard doesn't drop, the work doesn't stop. People will look to you when they're scared, when they've lost sight of the goal, when all they can see is the mountain in front of them, and in those moments, your job isn't to join them in panic, it's to guide them with purpose. You're the one holding the map when everybody else is disoriented. You're the one reminding them what you're fighting for. That's leadership. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about having the clearest direction when nobody else knows which way to go. That's the real power. Vision doesn't flinch. Vision doesn't fold. Vision cuts through chaos like a compass through fog. If you don't have vision, then you're just reacting to problems. But if you do, you start solving them before they happen. You start moving with intention while others are paralyzed by emotion. You've got to make a decision every single day. Will I be moved by pressure, or will I move with purpose? You can't do both. You can't say you're a leader and then fall apart every time the conditions get rough. You've got to rise above it. You've got to train yourself to see beyond the temporary. Leadership means zooming out. Seeing the full picture, it means speaking life when death is in the room. It means standing tall when the atmosphere is heavy. It means thinking long term when everybody else is looking for the fastest way out. That's how teams win. That's how businesses last. That's how legacies are built, not by reacting, but by responding with vision over and over again. You might be tired. You might be frustrated. You might be questioning everything. But the vision still has to speak louder than your feelings. You can't afford to lead with mood swings. You can't afford to lead with fear. Your people are looking to you for direction. They don't need perfection. They don't need fake smiles, but they do need to see that your belief is bigger than your emotions. They need to see that your commitment doesn't waver when things get uncomfortable. You lead with vision when your words match your walk. When your tone says, I'm still here, and your decisions say, we're still moving, no matter what it looks like, no matter how long it takes. Because leadership isn't just surviving storms, it's seeing beyond them, planning through them, and inspiring others to keep going even when the road disappears. If you want the crown, you gotta carry the cross. Everybody wants the title, but nobody wants the weight. Everybody wants the glory, but nobody wants the grind. But leadership doesn't come from ease, it comes from pressure. Pressure is not your enemy. Pressure is proof that you're in position. Pressure means you've been trusted with something heavy, something meaningful, something real, and the way you respond to that pressure, that's what defines your leadership. When you're under the weight, when the deadlines are close, when the responsibilities pile up, when the people are leaning on you, that's not the time to complain, that's the time to rise. You don't ask for it to be easier. You grow stronger, you don't back down, you stand up, because every ounce of pressure is producing a version of you that couldn't exist in comfort. Pressure produces presence. When you're under it, you don't get to hide. Your character is exposed, your work ethic is revealed, your mindset is tested. That's why most people run from pressure. They know it's going to uncover what they've been hiding, but you embrace it. You invite it, you step into the fire and say, let it show me what I'm made of. Because leadership isn't about looking the part, it's about becoming the part, especially when the lights are off, when the doors are closed, when no one's clapping, and everything feels like it's falling apart. That's when you make your name, that's when you build your legacy, that's when you become undeniable. Not when it's easy, but when it's brutal and you're still showing up like you were born for it. People think pressure breaks you. But pressure doesn't break you, it reveals you, and if it breaks you, that means there's still work to do. That means there's still muscle to build, still discipline to form, still mindset to develop. You don't grow in ease, you grow in the moments when you want to quit and you choose to keep going. You grow when the pressure feels unbearable, but you breathe through it, think through it, and act through it anyway. And when people see that, when they see you steady in the storm, calm in the chaos, bold in the heat, that's when they follow. That's when they believe, because they don't need a perfect leader. They need a present one. One who shows up no matter what. One who doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. So don't run from pressure. Don't curse it. Thank it. Because it's shaping you into the kind of leader who can carry more, handle more, influence more. Every tough meeting, every hard choice, every sleepless night, every difficult conversation, it's all weight. And that weight is molding you into someone who doesn't fold. Someone who doesn't break, someone who steps up while others sit down. You were given pressure because you were built to carry it, not to crumble under it. And if you want to lead, if you want to inspire, if you want to change the atmosphere in the room, you don't get to run from pressure. You carry it with posture, with poise, with power. Because presence under pressure is what makes the difference between those who say they're leaders and those who live it every single day. When it's tough, the spotlight disappears. The cheers stop, the likes go down, the attention fades, and that's when you find out what leadership really is. Because real leadership isn't about being seen, it's about serving, it's about sacrifice. It's about doing the work when no one's watching. The truth is, leadership is not the highlight reel, it's the behind the scenes. It's waking up early when you're exhausted. It's staying late when you're drained. It's putting your people first, even when you've got nothing left in the tank. That's what separates leaders from everybody else. Not the mic, not the stage, not the applause. It's the willingness to bleed for what you believe. It's the willingness to go without so your team can win. It's the commitment to carry weight that no one else even knows exists. Most people want the title, but they don't want the toll. They want the recognition, but they don't want the responsibility. But a leader, someone who really lives it, they understand that leadership is lonely sometimes. Leadership means making decisions that won't be popular but must be made. Leadership means taking the hit so your people don't have to. Leadership means showing up with strength even when you're breaking inside. You give, you pour, you lift, you sacrifice. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And when everybody else is thinking about what they can get, you're focused on what you can give. Because that's what keeps the team alive. That's what keeps the mission moving. That's what separates impact from image. You want to lead when it's tough. Be willing to carry burdens that others avoid. Be willing to say, I've got it. When no one else steps forward, be willing to go without credit, go without rest, go without comfort, because that's what the moment calls for. You can't ask people to go to war if you're not on the front lines with them. You can't expect loyalty if you haven't earned it through sacrifice. They don't follow because you're loud. They follow because you've proven you'll bleed for them. You'll stand for them. You'll lead even when it hurts. That's the kind of leader who changes culture. That's the kind of leader who builds trust so deep that people would go through fire with you. Leadership isn't about looking strong. It's about being strong. And sometimes being strong means putting your head down and doing the work no one wants to do. It means staying disciplined when no one's clapping. It means loving your people enough to put their needs ahead of your ego. You don't need recognition to validate you. The work speaks, the consistency speaks, the sacrifice speaks, and when it's dark and the team is discouraged and everything feels like it's falling apart, they don't need someone who needs the spotlight. They need someone who brings the light. They need someone who's grounded, someone who's real, someone who leads by example, not by position. Because when people see that kind of leadership, they don't just listen. They commit. They sacrifice too. They give more because you gave more. They push harder because you pushed harder. And that's how the culture shifts. That's how average becomes excellence, not through hype, through sacrifice. Through sweat, through unseen effort, through real, raw, relentless leadership.